That brings us to Pit Road, Boats and Woes, and the Pit Bosses of the Week, man.
Hey.
This one's an easy one this week, and I'd talk about these guys all day if I could, but the 54 team.
Mm-hmm.
They won the race, obviously, but they also had the best average of the day. All their pit stops were in the mid to low eights. Let's brag on them a little bit. Braxton Brannon, Jackman.
Dog.
Nick Macbeth, the tire carrier, he just came back from back surgery. I think either this year or last year he was out for a little while. Ian Anderson, fueler. Jackson Gibbs, Ty's cousin.
A buddy of mine sent me a video, and they're celebrating, right? And as a pit crew guy, you hear the chatter, right? Well, is he ever going to win? And I would assume that that's also a weight that the pit crew carries, trying to get their guy over the hump. You could see just the elation of the pit crew, particularly Ian Anderson, the fueler. I've probably seen this guy 100 times. I'm sure I'd recognize him. They were just high-fiving, and this guy just strict presses this normal, average-sized fella.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
So this is Ian Anderson's a guy that just wants to just one hand pick up a 95-pound fuel tank and fuel your stuff up.
Yeah. And then rear changer Daniel Smith, he just went from the 19 to the rear, the 54. There's three guys on this team in particular. The 54 went out and they got Cheddar, Robert Smith, Cheddar Bob. He was a longtime car chief for Rodney Childers. He was the car chief on the 39 for me with Ryan Newman when I started changing tires. He had a big effect on my career. Taught me how to manage cup races, win championships. They go out, they get Cheddar. They get Braxton Brannon. He's won championships with Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. Won a ton of races. Braxton Brannon got taken off of the 22 car in the championship race in 2022. Subsequently just retired. He was a Penske guy. They kind of did him a little dirty. He said, I'm out. I'm retiring. I'm moving.
Until you get
He was out for 6-7 weeks. Joe Gibbs called, said, hey, man, I need you back. He went back over there. And then Daniel Smith, who was at Storehouse forever, he won a championship with Tony Stewart in 2011, won a championship with Harvick. He had cancer, beat cancer, came back. So there's those three guys in particular. They bring stuff to a team that a stopwatch or any metric can't cover. You see guys end up on teams and they just start winning. You're like, some guys have all the luck. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Those are guys that can shape the culture of a race team. And they know what it takes to not only win races, but to win championships at this level. And that is something that you cannot measure with a stopwatch or with any AI analytic system that you want. So those are the guys that I want next to me on the wall to train a young Jackson Gibbs, to learn from Nick Macbeth, to learn from them. Right? Those are the guys that continually end up in victory lane, end up on the championship stage at the end of the year. And it's for a reason. And for them to strategically go out there, place them with Ty to pull them out of this slump. The 54 team has finished in the top 5 in the last 5 races for a reason.
He's on a heater.
And it's culture-shifting guys, Daniel Smith, Braxton Brannon, Cheddar Bob, that move the needle on that and make everybody around them better. So shout out to them guys, pit bosses of the week.
Talking about woes here. 12 crew continues to make Ryan Blaney's job on Sunday afternoon way harder than it needs to be.
Now look, they have zero confidence. They're going to have zero confidence. The one thing that they did this week, yes, they lost a bunch of spots, but they kept them in the race. Yeah, they lost 4 or 5 spots. Look, it's got to get better. We can't hide from it anymore. We can't fluff it. It's got to get better.
How?
You cannot be continually 20th, 25th on speed on the day, especially in the first pit stall. They did everything they had to do to win the race, right? Which is, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You didn't have loose wheels. You didn't have penalties. You didn't stick them 30th. A lot of teams did. We saw a bunch of equipment interference calls, which is when there's a car parked in front of you, you roll your right front into their pit stall. We saw a lot of speeding penalties. If you bury yourself in 30th at Bristol, your day's done. You're a lap down.
Yeah.
They didn't do that to them. They kept them in the top 10. But when you're pitting from the lead and you're going out 6th, there's got to be something that changes. When I got pulled off of that car last year, we were way better than they are right now. So for them to make a change on me last year, and now they're not, hey, you could have just left us alone and we'd be in a better spot. So not to harp on that, but there's got to be something being talked about. At this race last year, this is a race that I got replaced in last year. We were 6th overall on the day.
A lot of instances, whether it's pit crew or driver or spotter, sometimes they make a change just for the sake of saying they make a change.
And that's what they told me.
Butts.
So that's what they told me last year. I said, well, what are we doing here? And they said, hey, we just have to change something. We feel like we're the same team that we've been for the last 2 years. I said, well, the last 2 years we've won the championship, finished second in the championship.
Yeah.
We're having a little bit of a hiccup right now. Our Jackman was going through some stuff.
So
I said, we're going to get through this. We're on the other end of it. And if you just leave us alone, we'll be back to a championship team that we've been in. No, we're going to make a change.
There's always some sort of house of cards games going on that somebody's seat starts to get a little warm and they just take the heat off their seat by making somebody.
Look, I'm not saying I'm God's gift to changing tires, but there's a lot more that goes into changing tires. Daniel Smith and a Braxton Brandon bring to a team that getting a right front out of your hand, maybe a 10th faster or a 10th slower doesn't change the trajectory of a season. People bring other stuff to race teams that launch you way further than what a tenth or a half a tenth of a second can do.
Positivity, there's culture, right?
Leadership.
And you can bring that from not only a pit crew to your job, to your family, right? That all translates of being the guy and not just being good at what the measurables are.
And I want to see the 12th team do good. I've said it on here a bunch. I don't want everybody tweeting me every week. They did again this week about it. I want to see them succeed. I don't want them to be bad. But even Kyle Larson said in his interview yesterday, yeah, Blaney had the best cars. Picker just kept setting them back, right?
That's tough.
And look, I've lost races. I've had tough stretches on pit road myself. But there comes a point where it's, okay, we've given you guys enough runway. Something's got to change.
Got to tighten it up.
Got to tighten it up. And then the other woes of the week, I said everybody was speeding. It's a real easy place to speed.
Mm-hmm.
You speed there, you have a penalty, ruins your day. So shout out to the guys that finished up front. It's always a tough blue-collar day.
So off of that, we got pit road boats and woes as always, and the bosses.
Got any penny stackers?
I'm going to go back to my dang trash truck man. He came up and I was, all right, it's just another mechanic on a team that I've known through the garage and passing. And I'm like, I saw you at Darlington. Yeah, I'm the trash truck guy. He said, my life's been looking up since then. I was like, what do you mean? He said, just the positivity's been flowing, man. I go from, having a couple conversations in the garage at Darlington. Now I'm hired as underneath mechanic doing suspension for McAnally. Boy got himself a dream job.
Let's go.
Just from listening to the podcast. Hey.
I love that.
You listen to the podcast, man, dreams can come true. Who knows?
Grab the stickers.
This is also
grab the stickers.
definitely worth a shout out.